switching over to consignment arrangements, this is something that, I've had to deal with in a couple of cases, and it's interesting. It doesn't work for every situation. I'll give you an example. It was a manufacturer, and they used a lot of hand tools on the factory floor. Often these would break. They would get lost. So the vendor had a locked room on the factory floor with their person sitting there, and people would walk up to that room and basically get whatever tools they needed. Those kind of arrangements work from the perspective of they don't transfer title of your product to the would-be debtor entity. So you have some arguments in terms of you're able to recover those things. You haven't sold it yet, and you set up an arrangement where as these things go out, you get paid for it. It is hard to monitor. It's an additional expense, obviously having people there. Where you see this most often without even realizing that this is the situation is when you're being discharged from a hospital. You'll see, someone will come. It's like, okay, you need crutches, you need a wheelchair, you need this stuff to take with you home. The vendor has a consignment agreement with the hospital most often, and that's how things get dispensed. It really comes down to situations where if you're going to do this, it's a separate agreement. You need to be very careful about it. You need to make sure that your goods are separately stored and identified. You need to have reporting requirements and monitoring access to the factory floor. But the only, in my mind, the benefit of that is that the title of the widgets, as Jonathan calls it, does not pass to the other entity. So that is the one protection that you get through a consignment arrangement. My favorite still is you're not going to get COD. You're not going to get a letter of credit. You can get a consignment arrangement going to protect your exposure to a customer.